booktube, it's Charlie from Reader Turned Writer, and today I am showing you my 2020 bullet journal. So every year I do a bookish journal now. I was inspired a couple years ago by a few people on booktube to do a bookish bullet journal, and I like to set mine up for the whole year before the year starts. It's one of my favorite parts of doing a bullet journal. And so this year I'm going to walk you through what I have so far for my bullet journal, and hopefully you can get some inspiration for yours if you are into bullet journals. As a side note, I do have a cold, so excuse me if my voice sounds a little funny. So opening it up, I have just like a cover page, and I haven't actually decorated this yet, but it just says, 2020 bookish journal. And then I have here, I actually glued this on because I messed up this part, but I just have a calendar at the beginning that just has important events, things that will make it, interfere with things like reading or writing my novel or making videos for booktube and all of that kind of stuff. Okay, so this year I've started off my book log at the beginning of my bullet journal. It's something I'm trying. I've never put it at the very beginning before, so we'll see how I like that. And I've left plenty of room because I feel like I always run out of room because I never know exactly how many books I'm going to read. I've changed up the way that I do stats this year. I really, really love keeping track of stats for reading. I am pretty nerdy. So here I have a yearly reading tracker, and it just basically takes all of these stats, and so I can write like a number for each of them, and this is kind of my shorthand made up to keep track of this stuff. So if someone else were to come and look at it, they'd probably be like, what in the world is this? But I know what all of these mean. And I have my bullet journal color coordinated by month, and so my monthly calendar, you can see each month has a different color that I've tried to kind of theme, like blue, light blue for snow, October's orange, that kind of thing. And throughout my bullet journal, I keep track of the things that I do each month in that color. So like, here's how many books I read, and my goal is to read 120 books. Last year my goal was to read 140, and I've actually surpassed that this year. I mean last year. Yeah, 2019 my goal was 140 and I've surpassed that. But I want to focus on writing and booktube more in 2020, and so my goal is to actually read no more than 120. And so as I read the number of books, I will color those in. Like if I read 10 books in January, which is my goal, then I'll color in 5 and 10 in light blue. And then here I keep track of stats. So here I just have a graph of how many pages I read that month. And I haven't put the numbers here yet, but I just do like a square, like just a little graph there in each color. And then I just do tally marks on all of these, so female, male authors. And as I finish a book, I just put a tally mark. Is it a female author or male author? And I put the tally mark in the color of the month that I read it in. The stars, whether it's a reread for me or a new read, what age category it falls under, whether it was a read aloud to my kids, that's actually new, whether I owned it or it was a library book, if it's part of my, 2018, if it's part of my 2020 TBR, I'll have to fix that. That's funny. And then this is kind of new too. Something I'm kind of trying out is a way to organize the genres. So I have like a main genre, and then under that I have different kinds of genres, like is it an urban fantasy or is it an epic? Is it a cozy mystery or is it more, And so I'm kind of trying it out. I'm not really sure how I'll like that, but we'll see. Oh, and then I also have a new category for new releases because I want to read more books that are new releases. I tend to read older books and be kind of behind, and I want to get more reading newer books. So here are the books I want to read for 2020, and I cut my list of books that I want to read in half in an attempt. That's part of my attempt to not spend as much time reading. It's really easy for me to spend all my time reading and then not put time towards harder things like making videos and writing, and so this is part of my attempt to read less books this year. I still have a high goal, but 36, I can do 3 of these a month and then still have room to read in my other categories that I want. So here are books that I want to reread soon, and these are not necessarily to reread this year, they're just books that I want to reread in general, and then when I want to reread a book, then I can come here and fill it in here. So as I read them, and then next year I'll put any that I haven't reread and any that I want to reread that are new and do it again on this page. Here are the series that I am reading, and I have organized these. This is a little bit different than last year. I've organized my series list. So this is a list of series that I've already started that I want to finish. I want to keep it 20 or under. And so I want to stay on top of the series. Some of these, like Gregor Overlander, I read the first one when I was probably 12, so I'd have to go and reread the first book again before I finished it. But some of them, like the Fire and Steel series, I read the first book this year, and so those ones, I really want to focus on those ones this year and finishing up any that I've started recently enough that I remember the first book, so I don't have to go back and reread a whole bunch of books. Then I'll start trying to whittle down the other ones maybe. It's hard because I tend to read books that I don't realize are series, and then I finish it and I'm like, oh, this is a series. Now I have another series that I'm in the middle of. Haley at Books for MKs has a series ban until she has her series under control, and I think that is a great idea. So these ones are series that I'm not sure I actually want to finish, but I'm also not ready to totally DNF, and so these are ones that I want to keep track of, but I'm not counting them as ones that I'm in the middle of because I might not actually finish them. If I decide to finish them, then I'd move them up here and count them in my 20. These are series that I'm in the middle of, but that I can't finish yet because they have at least one book that isn't written yet. And so the ones that aren't written, I have marked both directions. And so these aren't written yet. And some of these will come out next year, like Stormlight, the 4th Stormlight book might come out in 2020, I hope. And so if it does and I read it, then I'll just color it in over that. The ones that are pink with the lines one way through them are the books that I have read in the series. And then these series are series that I haven't started yet, but that I want to. And I have them here because I want to keep track of them, but I don't want to start them till I get this list down more. Here is my list of classics, and so these are ones that I haven't read that I do want to read, and this is not necessarily this year, but these are just ones that I want to keep track of that I do want to read at some point. And these are ones that I've read but that I really want to revisit. And again, the ones that have colors by them are ones that I would really like to get to next year, and I kind of put the color of the month that I think I might get to it next year, but I'm not going to stick strictly with that. And these are books that I would like to read aloud for homeschooling. I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and we really love to read together, especially the 5-year-old. She loves having me read aloud chapter books to her, and so these are books that I want to read with them, and these first 12 are the ones that I would like to prioritize. These first 12. We do generally get through about one book a month. Here is a page where I can keep track of new releases. I'm trying to come up with a system. I'm not really sure how to keep track of new releases because I want to read more newer books, but I don't feel like I have a very good way of keeping track of which books are coming out, unless it's by one of my favorite authors like Brandon Sanderson. These are the ones that I think might be coming out soonish, that I hopefully will come out next year, that I want to read. And here is, I kind of stuck this here because I hadn't made this page and then I didn't have any room for it, so I just kind of stuck it here, but next year I definitely would put it on a page of its own, and it's just authors I want to read more of, but not necessarily read all of their books. I'm not totally sold on reading all of their books yet. I want to read more before I commit to that, but I definitely want to keep track of them as an author and read more by them. And here is a list of my favorite books of 2020, and I have 36, so then each month I get to pick my 3 top favorite, and then at the end of the year it's really easy to go back and say, okay, if I want to pick 10 favorite books, here's my favorite books of the year so far, and then pick from those. And I have them, you can see, color coordinated, so I know, like these 3 I would do in January. This is a new page as well. My brother is really into comic books, and my husband and I did a Marvel movie marathon this year, so I asked him for some recommendations for some comic books that he thinks I might like that are more Marvel based, but not all of them are Marvel. And as I read these, if I really like them, then I might get more from him, and as I read them I can color in that comic book in on my page. And here is my library catalog. The first year I did a bullet journal, 1 page was enough, but this year, in 2019, I've had to make another library books page because I read a lot of library books, and so I have 2 pages just in case. And then this is one of my favorite pages. It's actually kind of long. Okay, so I took all of the books that I have read but that I don't own but I want to own, and I made a list of them, and then I put them on these bookshelves. And I'm not trying to buy them all this year or anything, don't worry. It's just a way for me to keep track of them. And like I said, this is something, my bullet journal is really fun for me to do, so I don't mind going through and copying over books onto a new shelf in my next year's bullet journal that I haven't bought this year, and remaking this again next year with the books that I haven't bought. And then I have some blank so that I can, as I read more books in 2020 that I'm like, oh, I want to own this one, but I read it from the library, then I can write it down here. And it's just a way for me to keep track of which books I want to buy. And then here, these empty shelves are for books that I buy that I haven't read yet, but that I add to my unread library collection. And then here is just where I keep track of how much money I spend on books. And the top section here is how much I want to budget that month, and the bottom section is how much I actually spend. This page, Read Like a Writer, is a series that I want to start where I analyze books, looking at them the way an author would rather than from the perspective of a reader. And I don't know if I'm going to start doing any of those this year. I might start fresh next year doing this, but this is a page where I can keep track. I can write down the books that I want to analyze, and then as I read them, I can put a check mark, analyze them, I can put a check mark, and then make the video, I can make a check mark, and then once I upload it, I can color it in. And this is, I haven't done this yet because, so I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and we have started kind of a new program for a curriculum this year called Come Follow Me, and we haven't gotten the new curriculum for 2020, and so I'm waiting for that. But once I do, I'm going to plan out my scripture study plan for what I want to do each week, probably. This page is one of my new favorites too. It's authors that I want to read all of their books, and I don't have all of the authors that I want to read all of their books, but I just kind of filled up a couple pages, 2 pages, well, 4 pages, I guess. So I have Agatha Christie, and I wrote all of her books, and the ones that I've read, I've put little lines through, and then as I read new ones, then I can mark them off in the color. So I have Agatha Christie. I'd love to finish some of these this year, but I'm not sure if I'll actually finish. I'll probably finish Jane Austen because I'm really close, or like J.R.R. Tolkien if I could actually get to this, because I might reread The Lord of the Rings as well. We'll see. I'm a collector at heart, and so this page makes me so happy. That's why this page makes me happy too, is my collectorness. I have some pages for TBR readathons, and I know I'm probably going to do, if they do a booktube rereadathon, I'll probably do that again. And then I just have blank pages for any readathons that I want to have. And then this is my section for booktube and writing, and so then I have a target audience page so I can know who I'm writing to and who I'm making videos for. And these pages I've changed a lot, so now I have a goals page for writing and for booktube. And each month I'll keep track of my word count, how I'm improving my craft, so things like reading books or watching YouTube videos. Keep track of my writing group meeting and uploading words. And then I'll keep track of reading, because I think reading is a really important part of writing and learning to write. And then over on booktube goals, I'll keep track of videos and blog posts that I do. I will keep track of my Reading Like a Writer series. I want to do a minimum of 1 book a month. I will keep track of Bookstagram here, and then I will keep track of what booktube channels I'm watching and finding and stuff. And I think that's a really important part of booktube as well, being a really big part of the community, and I haven't done that as well this year. So those are kind of my goals for writing and booktube. And then I have ideas for videos, books, and blog posts, and then I have a little chart for writing book reviews that I kind of use. And then here is just a page for my business notes. And these are just like things that I want to, like anytime I want to write down something, I have a page for ideas for next year's bullet journal because I have that in all of my bullet journals. And then it's just empty pages until the very end. Oh, I forgot I put pages here. So at the end, I have favorite quotes. And usually what I found with my favorite quotes is I tend to like highlight them and then go back at the end of the month or the end of the year and find my favorite quotes, either through Goodreads. That Goodreads has a really good system for finding quotes from books, or just from the ones that I've highlighted. And then here are my goals, and I haven't actually written my goals for reading and then writing in YouTube yet, but this is my page to write down goals that I have. And then here is my yearly stats page, so I'll take all of the stats and just fill them in for the whole year. Reading, and then writing, blog posts, and Instagram, and then YouTube. And I like how this page turned out a lot more than I did with my goals, yearly goals page last year. I didn't like it. So then we come to my monthly tracker. I changed this a little bit as well. So here I keep track of the books I read and I write down the page numbers here. Then at the end of the year I add it up here, and then I can go to my stats page and make the graph. And then I write down any books that I donated or unhauled here. And then I write down any books that I bought here. And then here's where it's a little bit different than last year's. I have January's writing goals here, and then this is last, it should be 2019 words, but this will, so like in February, right here is where I'll write down January's words, how many words I wrote. And then here I write down my YouTube goals and then the best videos and how well they did. And then here's my calendar, and so then I have a place where I can write notes for the month, and then here's where I write down what videos I plan to do for the month and which week. And then as I do them, or blog posts or anything, I write down on that day which video I did. And then this page is also different. So this is where I keep track of the books that I own that I haven't read. So these are the hard copies, the books that I physically own but haven't read. I write down here the ebooks that I own on my Kindle that I haven't read yet, I write down here, and then audiobooks that I haven't listened to yet, I write down there. I have a goal to keep them each under 15. I don't like owning a lot of books that I haven't read yet because I like to know that they're worth owning if I own them. And so that's my goal right now. I am currently under 15 on all of them. We'll see after Christmas how this list goes. On this side, so this is kind of stats for more stats because I really like stats. So this is just a place where I can write down the actual number for the month, like how many new releases did I read, how many books did I read for homeschool, those kinds of things. And here I just have, so I'll write down each month, I'll write down how many of these, so under ebooks I'll write down how many I read, how many I DNF'd, how many are left unread still, and then how many I bought. And then at the end of the year I'll write down the same things. So how many did I read the whole year of this list of ebooks that I owned, and for each of these. And then here is where I will write down my TBR list, and like I said I want 10, but then I have these where I can choose 3 backups because I do tend to DNF books if I start them and don't like them. So if I finish way early, which I'm hoping I won't, but you never know, or if I DNF books, then I can choose from these 3 and fill in the time with it. And I have that clear, I have it all clear through to December, and that is the end of my bullet journal. So I'm trying those at the end. Last year I had those in the middle, and my business notes were at the end, and I didn't like that as much. So yep, there is my 2020 bullet journal. Let me know if you found any cool page ideas, or if you have any ideas for a bookish page or a bookish bullet journal. I'd love to hear about your bullet journal journey and how you do bullet journals. And thank you for watching my video. I will see you in the next one.